been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. And with that, with quorum established, first item is the community input. First up, we have Mr. David Tucker. Mr. Tucker, you'll sit right there. Make sure and push the button on the microphone to turn it on, and you'll have 1 minute.
Hello, I'm David Tucker. I teach social studies at Creekside Intermediate. This evening you will consider a grievance I filed over the SB 10 posters. I'm not against the 10 Commandments. My father and grandfather were great men and even better Baptist preachers. I learned how to love and care for others by watching those men. But I am against violating the constitutional rights of my students and myself. I recognize that the board is in a difficult position, so thank you for your time and care in this matter. First, the U.S. Supreme Court has already declared the 10 Commandments in public school classrooms to be unconstitutional on First Amendment grounds. That case, Stone v. Graham, is still binding law and clearly applies to SB 10. Second, the Texas Constitution clearly says no preference shall ever be given by law to any religious society. By requiring the 10 Commandments to be displayed, SB 10 shows preference to Protestant Christianity. Third, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has recently enjoined numerous Texas districts from enforcing this unconstitutional law. Clear Creek ISD was recently named as a defendant in a new lawsuit challenging the enforcement of this statute. Based upon all current laws and precedents, our district will be enjoined as well. Fourth, the Texas Attorney General does not have the power to force anyone to violate the U.S. and Texas constitutions. In conclusion, I am compelled to ask our district leaders to uphold our constitutional rights, even when difficult or politically inconvenient. I want to work in a district that speaks truth to power. I pray I already do. God bless CCISD and God bless the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. All right, next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. I have a motion.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Check.
I move to approve the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the monthly human resources report.
Thank you. All right, motion on the floor. Any other discussion? None? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, no opposed. Thank you very much. All right, next item is for information discussion on district goals and an update.
Thank you, President Cottrell. And we are going to have a lot of people that are going to share goals update with you this afternoon. We talked about our first goal last month, and then our workshop today will cover goals 2 and 3. And as kind of getting started, we do have a presentation, and you also have the goals, our district goals, a copy at your place, just as a kind of reference as we go through. We'll hit every one of those goals and the strategy pieces under that in 2 and 3. And just as a reminder, we are always looking at our board, our mission statement, our vision, and as we continue to look at empowering every student with a world-class education that ignites passions and fuels endeavors. That is something that we will talk about quite a bit today, as that entails goal 2. And as you go through the goal 2, and I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit, but each student will engage in world-class learning experiences that foster curiosity, develop talent, guide exploration, and fuel achievement. And so as we go through, we have different the first strategy, and you'll see that on the screen, is to improve instructional practices to achieve an 88 or higher score on domain 1 of the A through F accountability system. And then we have 5 different bullet or areas under that strategy that we are going to share with you this afternoon. So we'll start off with implement research-based instructional strategies, the RBs, and we hear that term a lot, and Ms. Hughes is going to talk about that. And what we're doing here this afternoon is really giving you kind of an update of where we are. We'll give you that final metrics and all of that information at the end, but giving you some intermediary metrics as well as just kind of some of the things that we're doing. So she's got a good explanation of this, and then if we have any questions, if it's okay, we'll go through that first strategy in goal 2 and then answer any questions and then move on to the second strategy if that's acceptable. Okay, we'll go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to provide a brief update where we are with the Arby's this afternoon. And just as Dr. Engel shared, these are the research-based instructional strategies that are provided from TEA and that we are implementing in literacy and math in our K-5 classrooms. They are a statewide framework, and it's based on how students learn best. They're provided to bolster the misconceptions and perhaps procedures that are missed by students in classrooms across the state that have been recognized in the statewide information. We started this work 2 years ago. You've are maybe aware that we went through 2 different rounds of grants that we received through the Strong Foundation LASSO grants. With the first year we started with literacy, and then last year we worked through math. With both of those, we have been in the implementation and the planning stages, and we've been growing capacity and instructional practices through that with our leaders, our teachers, our coaches, and we were certainly implementing all those this year. We have worked to calibrate learning walks. We have a district-wide form that we're using to collect data and to align our classrooms and our understanding around these, and so we can build our best thinking and our best work around those. Also looking at our PLCs, our student work data, and all of our assessment data that's coming in. We have lots of different ways, from Dreambox Amplify through our HPLS and benchmarks, and you've heard a bit about those. But when we look at that data and we look at those instructional practices, this is the way that we've talked about previously of aligning those and looking for where are the gaps, where are the trends, and what do we need to do about that system-wide. So this implementation has been an important thing, and it's really been an asset to us that we've been able to align to the TEA's work and their expectation for the STAR assessment and the redesigned thinking and expectations around that. Our campuses have done a great job in our curriculum content coordinators and coaches and teachers of working on that, building that clarity and success criteria in the classrooms. And the tighter we are with that, the closer we are getting to the fidelity that's needed in the classroom, and it's really changing that strong Tier 1 practice. Overall, these are the best strategies for all students to ensure strong learning in the foundation in the classroom. So that's where we are. So overall, we're on track. We are, I guess, with this one, we're implementing. So that's where we are, and we're collecting that momentum and that system process to grow through the year, and we'll continue to build out and share back towards the end of the year. But wanted to share that with you today.
All right, good afternoon.
Yeah, we'll move on to the second bullet, and you can introduce the guest.
The second and third bullet, we're going to talk about, tying into what Ms. Hughes talked about, is how we are analyzing student growth data in our content area to guide what we are doing for interventions and enrichments. And then also, we're talking about how we are targeting academic improvement plans to close achievement gaps. And we are delighted to introduce to you, I don't think she needs any introduction, but this is Ms. Vina Doss. She's our Executive Director of School Improvement, and she's going to talk about the next 2.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So analyzing student growth data in ELA, math, science, what we are doing every 9 weeks to make sure that we are on the right track. So we monitor student growth through formative assessment, short checks during lessons, summative assessments, the end of unit tests, growth measure 1 and growth measure 2. So one thing different that we are doing this year is the summative and formative assessment. The rigor has been raised by the curriculum coordinators to match the rigor of the STAR assessment. We have already received data from growth measure 1, which is a district-wide test. However, the growth measure 1 is only over certain TEKs. So we'll get a bigger picture from growth measure 2, where we'll be measuring almost the entire TEKs tested on the STAR test. Of course, our students would not have learned all the TEKs yet, but it will at least be a pre-assessment of the ones that they have not covered to give us a good idea on how to proceed further. And then students who are struggling are identified from the common formative and common summative assessments so that they can receive extra support during the intervention time. Students who are ready for more challenges, work, receive enrichment. So this is the first one. And then the other thing we are doing is in my role, we conducted a needs assessment with the campus administrator at the beginning of the year to target the highest impact support. Teacher teams are designing lessons in collaboration with each other. So we have every 9 weeks, we have a common planning time with the assigned campuses. They work with the coordinator, and they design lessons, again, to match the rigor of the assessments and to match the rigor of the STAR tests. This cross-campus collaboration helps us to bring the best practices from other campuses. For example, we had a campus that was doing great Tier 2 intervention, and we have experts all over in CCISD. So we are just bringing those experts to our common planning and sharing their best practices. So this campus had the best data, and they had shown the most growth. And so we are trying to replicate those practices in other classrooms. The same thing with one of our campuses had great SPED scores. And so they come in and we learn from their practices, and they are now sharing those practices with other campuses. Instructional coaches and curriculum coordinators have redesigned assessments. We already talked about that, to match STAR rigor. And then we are strengthening SPED support on elementary campuses through collaboration with the assistant director of SPED. Okay.
All right. The next bullet is going to be covered by Ms. Angela Hingelman, Director of Professional Learning, and it's talking about the impact of our coaching and our PLCs on student achievement.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm excited to talk about some of this work. It aligns with what Ms. Doss shared, all the things she was talking about with the assessments and looking at the data to intervene and extend for students. That's all the work of our PLC, and that's part of what we're going to talk about. At the beginning of the summer, we sat down and said, what are our 2 high-yield practices that are really going to move our students forward? And we decided it was PLCs, our professional learning communities, as well as instructional coaching. And so that's why they were included in this goal. And we've provided a lot of time, a lot of training, a lot of resources. And the metrics up here, the first 3 have to do with assessments and student outcomes. And you'll get some more data about that probably in January or coming up. I'm going to speak to the last 2 bullets, the PLC survey and the instructional coach feedback that we got. Over the past 3 years, our district guiding coalition has really pushed a lot of our PLC work forward. And what the district guiding coalition is, it's the district level PLC. It includes district leaders as well as campus principals, and some deans are on the committee. And they all work together as a model of what we're asking our campuses to do at their level. We look at data, we come up with good strategies, we set goals and plans and supports, just like we ask campuses to do. And the District Guiding Coalition created a rubric, which is called the Strategic Implementation Guide. We refer to it as the SIG. And it outlines the PLC process. And it's not meant to be evaluative. It's meant to be a tool that PLC teams and principals and coaches can use to get clarity around some of the practices that Ms. Doss was talking about, to make sure we're doing them with fidelity. So that was implemented the last school year, 24-25. And so following the cycle of continuous improvement, the District Guiding Coalition said, okay, we've provided clarity. How do we know what campuses are doing and what they need and what supports are next? And so that led us to creating a survey that we sent out through Qualtrics. And it was modeled after a campus survey. A campus did a really good job with that. And it took the pieces of the Strategic Implementation Guide, and that was sent to teams, and they rated themselves. It was self-analysis. And we had 1,806 people that took the survey. And this was in October, so that after October 21st, when we met with principals, we were able to support them in how to pull the data and create action plans. And we talked to them about getting together with your leadership team, your assistant principals, and your coaches, and asking yourself, are these ratings correct? Like, did they accurately self-assess from what you've seen as an administrator, and what evidence you've collected? And then look at campus trends. Is there anything you need to implement campus-wide to support this? And then look at individual teams. Is there anything you need to do for a specific team to help them grow in these practices? And so then we provided resources so that they were equipped to do that work on campus. And then for the feedback portion, Dr. Engel met with all the principals this fall and asked them this very specific question, as one of many. How are you evaluating the impact of your instructional coaches and professional learning communities? And we took their responses, and the 6 that rose to the top were the student outcomes, coaching cycles, classroom evidence, PLC artifacts, surveys and feedback, and rubrics and resources. So when we triangulate this with the achievement data, we think we're going to get a really good picture of the impact of coaching and PLCs, and that helps us as a district be really strategic with the supports that we offer campuses to make an impact, and then that helps our principals make an impact with their teachers and their students.
The final bullet for this strategy is provide and monitor participation in TSIA, ACT, SAT prep interventions and practice assessments each semester to help students meet Texas Success Initiative benchmarks in ELA and math. So if you look at the bottom set of bullets there, the TSI benchmarks for CCMR purposes are only those 3 exams, TSIA 2, ACT, and SAT. Now we know that from the CCMR process, there are multiple ways in which to obtain that, and those are listed underneath that include AP exams, dual credit, IBCs, associate degrees, on-ramps, some specific SPED situations, as well as military enlistment. For this strategic piece, it is only for the TSI, ACT, and SAT. So I just wanted that clarification that that's what we're looking at. So some of the strategies and interventions that our high school campuses are implementing in order to ensure that our students are performing at a high level on those 3 exams include RTI during their RTI time for their TSI2 and SAT prep. And so that's that in time that they have built into the day for interventions. They utilize that, as well as individual teachers implement time during their warm-ups with SAT questions, TSIA2 questions to prepare them. Most campuses have Saturday SAT prep sessions in the spring, preparing students for those all-important exams. And of course, they encourage Khan Academy and have SAT-aligned questions throughout. So there's several interventions and practice assessments that our high schools do throughout the year to prepare our students for that all-important TSI benchmark, whether that be TSIA2, their ACT, or their SAT scores. So just to give you an update of the progress where we're at currently, when we look at meeting CCMR through that TSI, again, those are those 3 exams, excluding that Texas College Bridge, which actually gives us a credit for college prep math or college prep English. So again, just those 3 exams. At the end of the year last year, we had 37% of our seniors meeting CCMR through that TSI benchmark. Currently, we're at 44% of our students that have met that thus far. So we're very encouraged by the work that's been done, both in the classroom as well as each campus, to provide that kind of increase only 4 months into the school year. And then finally, a last piece of that, just for information purposes only, a CCMR update, as we know that's very, very important to our accountability as a district as well as the high schools. November of last year, we were at 60% of our students meeting CCMR. This year, up to date, we're at 64%, so we're a little ahead of our mark from last year. So super excited about the work in which our high school campuses, administration, classroom teachers, instructional coaches, deans, they're all putting in order to ensure our kids are prepared for both college, career, and military readiness. And that wraps up, I think.
Yeah, that wraps up that first section, the first strategy and goal 2. So turn it back over for questions.
Okay, thank you. I'll open up. Any trustees have any questions or comments?
Well, if nobody else will start, I was kind of curious. I noticed there was targeted intervention at certain campuses. Do we have a list of those campuses now, or just what point is development is that at right now?
I want to speak to.
We can share those with you.
Yeah, we can share those. There are 5 elementary.
5 elementaries.
4 and go ahead.
5 elementaries and 4 intermediate campuses that we are supporting currently. But even though we only have targeted supports for 5 elementaries, any campus that needs any additional support also comes into those meetings. And for intermediates, we are planning with all 10 intermediate campuses, not just the 4, so that they get the expertise of the others as well.
I don't know if this is a question for Ms. Hughes or Ms. Doss, but can you kind of talk a little bit about how Cambridge has helped? Gotcha.
Cambridge is, I think it's the best thing that has happened at our intermediate campuses. Cambridge really raises the rigor at our intermediate level. And I would highly encourage any one of you to go walk those classes. You can see those students engaged, and you can almost see that Bloom's taxonomy rocking in those classrooms. It's such a joy to watch how students rise to the level of instruction, and the curriculum that has been put in place by Mr. Zavala's team is commendable. So Cambridge, it's really going well, yes.
And we're moving to grade 7.
And yes, we are moving to grade 7 next year. Huge kudos to our curriculum coordinator and the teachers who have put together that curriculum and the instructional coaches.
That was my next question. Where were we going to roll that out, next? So thank you for that.
Go ahead.
First, I just want to say thank you to Ms. Doss and Ms. Hinkleman. Thank you for the information that you all shared. And Ms. Hughes, Dr. Stallings, this is, as you all know, I don't have to tell you, this is so important as we think about reaching our earliest learners and providing them with the foundation that ultimately sets them up for success as we think about a world-class education. So thank you for helping us identify places where those best practices are occurring and where we can establish professional learning communities that ultimately can support one another. I think we don't necessarily talk about what it means for teachers and for coaches in the form of retention and of making this a great place to work when they feel like their work is recognized and valued, and they see that those things that are excellent practices are something that we can replicate at all of our campuses. So thank you for doing that. I'm not sure if you'll have an answer to this question, and I don't know how we are making this information visible to the PLCs or to the campuses that have the best practices. A couple of years ago, we made the transition to Canvas, and I know there was a lot of discussion about it being a place where data and information would be available and could be shared and could be viewed, and I didn't know if we have found that to be helpful in this process as a way to just gauge and share that information.
It's been a really great tool. For example, for professional learning communities, I've been leading a PLC 101 session, and I put all the resources on there, and it's also become kind of a living course, because I just constantly, if a principal emails me and says, how can I do this with my team? I send them right back in there. I tell them exactly what to click on, exactly what folder they can search for. I share that with first year teachers as they're just learning what a professional learning community is. I constantly send instructional coaches back into there when I'm meeting with them, so they're digging through the resources and making them useful for what their campus needs. I do the same thing with first year teachers. Also, instructional coaches have their own Canvas page with a lot of different resources. Administrators have theirs, assistant principals, aspiring leaders. So we've been using that as a really great tool to house a lot of our information.
That's great. Might be interesting as a follow-up, Dr. Engel, as we get further along, is just to see just the traffic that information gets. I think Canvas provides some insight into who is accessing it, who's using it, who is sharing it, who's helping to provide information, just as a way for us to understand. I know it was a big shift to move to Canvas, and so I just think the more we could get out of it would be great. Who may need it, right? Yeah. Right. So, thank you for that.
Thanks, Trustee Sanchez. Go
So
ahead.
I had a question about the CCMR numbers. What are like the top 3 or 4 things that are keeping students, the 36%, out of that?
We do utilize Texas College Bridge, and so that's a program in which a student progresses throughout the year, self-paced as well as directed. And at the end of that course, at the end of that program, rather, they are awarded credit for college prep math or college prep English, which then is put on their transcript that counts toward the CCMR. And so a lot of those students in that 36% are still working towards that through their Texas College Bridge. In other words, they may have already taken their SAT, they may have taken TSI, they may not be eligible for some of those other AP exams, dual credit, things like that, but that Texas College Bridge will eventually get them to where they need to be. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? I'll echo the thanks that Trustee Sanchez mentioned. Ms. Doss, Ms. Hinkleman, thank you all very much for being here. We really appreciate this update. Oftentimes the community doesn't understand the value that coaches add and why we invest in them. And this really helps explain it to us, and hopefully the community understands as well that it's extremely valuable. I love hearing about the campus cross collaboration, best practices. It's really helpful, with a district this size. There's a lot going on, and whenever those campuses communicate and work together and PLCs all come together, everything works really well. So thank you all very much for being here. Appreciate it. All right. Next.
Okay, great. Yes, so our next strategy in Goal 2 is to promote innovation as measured by the creation of multiple new student learning opportunities. We're very excited about this. We're going to start with Dr. McKay, and then we'll have several guests that will come in and share some things with you. But I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Moses and Dr. McKay to start talking about our stream of innovation.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Engel. We're going to talk a little bit about our implementation thus far at Space Center Intermediate with our stream, and then give you an update of where we are moving forward. We have Dr. McKay here with us to help talk to this. Kudos to her as she has spearheaded this movement throughout, not just Space Center's development, but the implementation, as well as working with the 3 schools that we're excited to share with you here in just a few moments. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. McKay and allow her to share an update on Space Center Intermediate Stream.
I'm so excited to be here, and it's definitely been a team effort as I call out some different people talking you through the structure very quickly. And Principal Jim DiNardo has been an excellent choice for Space Center Intermediate. So on the left-hand side, you see what you approved last spring as our structures for our first stream of innovation. And in one semester, you're going to see the update down the side of all the things that we've accomplished. So we wanted a core curriculum for 6th, 7th, and 8th, starting in 8th grade this year. And so Social Studies, under the direction of Robin Sabo, has done a GIS event. And we will be doing a science project in May under Andrea Fries has already written the curriculum with the instructional coaches with the mini PCR. And so our core projects are slowly being implemented, and they will go across all 10 schools is the vision. So we're piloting them at Space Center, and then the idea it will go across all 10 as we roll down. And so the next part was the library makerspace under the direction of Susie Farrell, all 10 librarians. So this is on Space Center Intermediate was pilot but all 10 jumped on. She and the librarians have created core content makerspace lessons. This means it's tied to our TEKS in math, science, social studies, or ELA, which is a departure from makerspace. Usually you're just doing robotics just for the sake of doing robotics, and it's something fun. And our makerspaces are tying that robotics to learning something in the core content, which again helps with the goals that we just discussed on raising those expectations for students. So she has piloted for 6th, 7th, and 8th at all 10 intermediate schools are piloting those lessons. They are written for the spring, and they will be going in the spring with full implementation next fall. Cardinal Clubs is amazing. You're welcome to come by on a Friday and see those Cardinal Clubs in action. We added a few streamy ones. Already an amazing thing going on at Space Center, and those interest groups help with attendance and have been excellent for students. Advanced Academics, we have a GT advisory at Space Center Intermediate. It is a multi-grade initiative, and again, very successful. And then our CTE elective is in robotics right now, and coding is our new one that you approved that we're going to be offering in the spring. We have 60 students. And reminding you across the state of Texas, 7th grade coding and computer science is not a normal thing in schools. So it's very innovative. And then in January, we will be going forth with Principles of Engineering, our new 8th grade high school credit CTE course. And that 8th grade course, we hope we are targeting those coding and robotics students and then opening interested seats to other students. So we're excited about January. We're excited to bring people to our campus to see what's going on with STREAM at Space Center Intermediate. And then the experiential learning, they just went to the zoo, and at Space Center, we just don't go to the zoo. We research an animal. We present our animal at the zoo as a whole experience about learning, but it's about to the belief of what we believe kids should be doing. It's not only just going on the field trip, but what are you learning as you do it? And so it's been a great success. And then Franklin, I'll turn it back to you to talk about the next two.
Yeah, before we go to that, I want to echo what Dr. McKay said. Mr. Donato and his staff have been absolutely fantastic. If you remember, when we were developing this, planning this out, Dr. Thornton was the principal. And so the planning of it was under her leadership. And then we hired Mr. Donato, who had to walk in and take the plan and then go implement it, even though he had nothing to do with the planning. He has done absolutely fantastic. Staff have been great. I'll share a quick story just because it's a cool one. I went in with him the other day to the robotics classroom to watch and to see kids participating in robotics that probably are not going to be part of the Robonauts. They're probably not going to be part of robotics in high school, but to have that opportunity provided to them is just unbelievable to see. Kids that are typically not robotic students playing with robots and programming them to make them do things and watching their expressions when the robots don't do what they're supposed to do or what they programmed them to do. So just wanted to say that kudos to that whole campus for all the work that they've done in preparing that. So with that being said, we are looking at next year, coming in the fall of 26, bringing on 3 more intermediates, Clear Creek Intermediate, Clear Lake Intermediate, and Victory Lakes Intermediate into our stream process. Dr. McKay has worked hard with those campuses to plan that out. We'll be ready to present to you guys in the spring the final product and plan for these 3 campuses. We will be bringing 3 different electives to you guys next week to the board for approval for courses in the CTE realm for both Space Center as well as Clear Lake and Victory Lake. So that'll be on the agenda. But just so you know, Clear Creek Intermediate will be focusing on the arts. They'll be looking at creative, high yields, fine art strategies to use in the classroom to enhance learning. So they're super excited about that. We have opportunities to partnership with the Museum of Natural Science and, the Museum of Fine Arts. Thank you, Dr. McKay. We're talking about STREAM gets me on science. But we have that partnership available with some others. Clear Lake Intermediate's working with our Lone Star Flight Museum to provide some opportunities there. They brought their staff out there just this past month and had a tour and really really engaged those teachers and motivated them about this process. And then finally, Victory Lakes will be looking at medical science, where they'll be partnering with a hospital to prepare their students for that area. So we're super excited about all this. Again, we'll bring this to you in the spring and share a full-blown plan of what this looks like moving forward.
And could I ask just one thing too? Could you share that field trip experience that Clear Creek Intermediate had on the arts?
Yes. So we went to Austin. We took a trip out to Austin ISD. Greg Goodman, our director of VPA here in the district, at one time worked in Austin and worked with several people there on these creative art strategies, these high yield strategies in classrooms. So we took a group of teachers to a middle school there in Austin and was able to go into a couple of classrooms and see the engagement, the excitement of the students, doing things that I as an intermediate student would never try, but they did with full confidence. And they talked about their learning process and how it helped them and assisted them moving forward and really engaged them as a hook. And so we're super excited about that. And if Dr. Mackay wants to share anything else.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And to see it in person, I'm very grateful we could go and have a field trip, a learning experience to
Yeah.
see it. So
Yeah.
we know what we're bringing back is quality.
And every teacher that went on the way back on the bus was ready to go when they got off the bus. They wanted to start tomorrow. And we were like, no, let's wait. Let's do some planning. They're super excited about that opportunity. Dr. Mackay and Ms. Poulard, the principal, presented at a faculty meeting this week, and they've already had even more interest from those that didn't even attend the field trip or has not been part of the committee, saying they're ready to move on this. So we're looking for great things for Clear Creek in this area. Still us.
Yeah.
Stream of Innovation, the college preparatory program. We've brought this to you a couple of times. We wanted to give you an update. Dr. Mackay has done a lot of work with a lot of parties in preparing for this, and so I'll turn it over to her, let her share the update.
You've approved the course Engineering Beyond the Earth, the practicum. We've designed all the curriculum, and we've met several times with various industry partners, as you see listed below, who are excited to work with us to develop the curriculum and to partner for our students. So our next step is gauging student interest and going to the schools and visiting with those high school students to see, is it going to be able to get this into your into your schedule? Are we going to be able to do this? And then we'll put it in, it is in the our EPG going forth to students to sign up, and it's going to be based really on student interest. And so to be honest with you, I'm excited about it for next year. I think it can be amazing. But the other part is a student may have to plan a little bit to make sure that they have room in their schedule. Is that okay to say?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we talked about. Like,
Yeah.
the course is developed,
we-
it's ready to go. When you start talking about student interest, there's interest there, but is there room in their schedule? This is, anytime you start talking about courses that take 2 and 3 period blocks, those students typically prepare for that starting in their freshman year to ensure that they've taken their courses necessary to create that opening for that course. So we are, Dr. Mackay sent out a survey to those students, and we've got some feedback, but we're going to go out and visit with them individually to see what challenges are there, to see if it's possible. If it is, then we will move forward. If it isn't, then we will continue to work on it and prepare our 9th and 10th graders to take it the following year.
And let me add on that survey, since we brought that up, 100% they all want the curriculum. 100% on that survey, 60 kids. We like that curriculum, we like the idea, we like the industry partners, we want what you're offering, get us out. The part is the structure. Can I afford 2 classes? So.
Okay, then moving on, I'll just name Ms. Tidwell has done a phenomenal job. P-TECH is off and running almost first semester, and I know some of us have been over at Horizons a little bit and seeing that, but I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Moses because she is out of town,
Yes.
and so he's going to share the information from her.
Yeah, she was able to provide us with this information. And so in February, we had 102 students apply for the P-TECH program, in which 94 of them selected both. We gave them the opportunity to select either early college, high school, or P-TECH. 45 of that initial 102 ended up accepting an early college position, so they went to that side of the house. In March, they held a commitment night for students and parents, and so they did a joint session with Early College and P-TECH, but then toward the end, they broke off so that P-TECH could have a special session, as it is a separate entity from our Early College high school program there at Clear Horizons. Of course, we have pictures here of some of the work that they did through that process in May. Bridge camp for P-TECH with HCA, that's where they went out. Students went out and was at HCA, and that was a great opportunity for our students to start to learn about what they were getting into with the P-TECH program. And then in August, we took the teachers. Once the teachers heard the great stories of the students, and the teachers wanted to go to HCA and see what was going on. So then the teachers took a facility tour in August of 2025. So our first cohort of P-TECH students are there on the screen. They do have the same advisory class, so they can receive specific information in regards to the P-TECH program there at Horizons. The first year course is Principles of Health Science. They've had a work-based learning experience in November, where again they went out to HCA Healthcare Clear Lake Hospital Lab and phlebotomy areas to learn more about that program, as that's one of the areas of significance as they move forward. And then finally, P-TECH students also assisted in that school-wide blood drive there at Clear Horizons. So again, these students are brand new to the program, and April is doing a fantastic job with them. And then finally, spring semester, what's next? Our P-TECH students will have some more work-based learning opportunities with HCA and San Jac, giving them more opportunities to learn about the various aspects of healthcare industry. They'll register for our year 2 course, which is medical terminology, and then they'll prepare for their certification course involved in their junior and senior years. The application for cohort 2 will be open January 6th through February 13th, with several information nights planned at our intermediates throughout the district. We will be using SchoolMint to do this, and the students have that option again to choose P-TECH and or Early College High School. So our goal is to have 125 early college students every year and 25 to 30 P-TECH students every year. So we're hoping that by 2029, we'll have 100 to 120 students in our P-TECH program there at Clear Horizons. So again, April Tidwell is doing a fantastic job with that program.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to kind of invite a few guests to come up just a minute, and I'll turn this over to Dr. Silva and kind of the background, a little bit non-core dual credit coursework. We've had an exploration team that looked into this a year ago, and then they created development, and then they have now implementation looking at next year. So Dr. Silva may want to introduce a little bit of this.
Yes, good evening. We're happy to share a little bit about our exploration team. We've started about a year and a half ago looking at ways to expand dual credit options, and 2 people who were instrumental in that were Christina Ford, our Director of Counseling, and Dr. Sharon Lopez, our Executive Director of Secondary, and we worked closely with several of our CTE team members as well, and really developed a lot of conversation and relationships and collaboration with some of our outside partners, San Jac College as well as College of the Mainland. And so I'm happy to introduce both Ms. Ford and Dr. Lopez, who are going to share a little update about our work.
Good evening, everyone. Like Dr. Silva said, this really was a true collaboration across a lot of different departments, and we're very excited to show you kind of our final crosswalk for next year. And so we have 2 partners, and our first partnership that we have, we actually printed these out for you. So the crosswalks are under your goal sheets if you want to see them a little closer. I know it's really small on that PowerPoint presentation. So we're really excited at San Jac to have 5 different opportunities for our students, if they're interested, to look at process technology, welding, maritime, air conditioning technology, and cosmetology. And we know we have welding and cosmetology in-house in our CTE programs, but this just provides our students an additional opportunity if they're interested in those programs as well. Students at San Jac do not have to be TSI ready to enroll in these programs and get to go in and experience this coursework. And so I'm going to let Dr. Lopez share with you our COM opportunities.
So 3 of our high schools work with COM, and so we have a couple opportunities there for petrochemical process technology. That's going to be a new program for our students to be exposed to, instrumental and electrical technology, and welding, and then culinary arts. And we're not trying to take away from any of our CCISD programs. It's just another opportunity for our students to have dual credit. And sometimes we have people on a waiting list, and so we're providing another opportunity for students. And if they're interested in a dual credit opportunity, then it's just another route. And so Christina and her team did a great job setting up these crosswalks so that they will get dual credit high school and college credit as well. So next, just to let you know what the recruitment strategies and next steps are for this program, we are going to be sharing new offerings with the principals. So we already shared it with the principals last week and the lead counselors. Ms. Ford's working with the lead counselors on that and how we continue to advertise this to our students. And then working with connections with San Jac and COM, we met with them today to finalize scheduling, recruitment, and registration, the registration process. And they're going to be coming to some of our, and providing information for our dual credit nights at each one of our high schools to help answer questions and really help our students learn about the programs and make sure that the advertising is there. So when our students have questions, the counselors can know the answers. And then also our CT, Linda Smith, our college and career counselor with the district, can help as well.
And we're really thankful for the partnership with CTE, because when we presented this to the counselors, our counselors said, we can do core, but we really need some support on those CTE programs. So Ms. Bevel, Dana Morgan, and Linda Smith are really coming and helping make sure our counselors know, what does it mean to do process technology? What does it mean to do that air conditioning? So that when we're supporting our students and talking with them, we can help make sure we're catching those right kids to recruit and get them in those programs that would really benefit them for post-secondary success. So we're making sure we have professional learning opportunities for them coming up in January. As Dr. Lopez says, we're going to embed all of that in our dual credit nights, all of our course fairs and our expos. We've been doing a lot of creative things of inviting those community colleges during lunch to highlight their programs, to catch students while they're walking by. So we're really trying to actively do that. For some of our campuses, it's partnering with a new community college. So we talked to them today about making sure we've got those processes ready for that. And then really partnering with CTE. Something that's not on the slide but is really important is our partnership with Office of Communications in making sure that we're launching all of this information. How do we want to make sure that our stakeholders know that all of this is coming out? So we're working together with a plan to make sure that we really have these opportunities highlighted so that all of our stakeholders know this.
And so Ms. Ford has done an amazing job at getting this in the EPG in a timely manner. And we know that it may be a slow start at the beginning just because it all works by word of mouth. But when we feel like when we get a few students in there and that word of mouth starts getting out, and especially when students start graduating and getting some of these jobs and coming back and telling friends and neighbors that, hey, I've got a petrochemical job right out of high school, started at the bottom and moved up, that it's an exciting opportunity for our students, and we look forward to building it.
And I'm going to segue that because it kind of ties into the Department of Communications and really getting information out, not with that, but also we've talked about our final bullet there, expand virtual learning options for high school students. And so I'll turn it over to Kelly Lane and Ms. Polson to talk about that.
Thank you very much for having me tonight. This is very exciting. We have some great news and some great information to share with you all today. So we have been in the exploration phase for the last year, and during that time, we spoke to over 13, whether they were schools or programs within the state of Texas. We focused a lot on the different virtual programs that currently exist, especially ones that may have kind of, I guess, wooed our students away. We were really focusing on them because what was really making them so interested that they wanted to be virtual. So we spent a lot of time doing that, and from South Texas to North Texas to West Texas and on, we were able to speak to a lot of different programs. Some of them are very robust. They have thousands of students that they are servicing every day, and so we wanted to see what that looked like. So during our exploration phase, we found and we became super excited because it really made a connection to what we already currently do inside of CCISD, where we offer flexible pathways and approaches for all of our students. And so today we wanted to talk a little bit about where we are now and where we plan to go in the future.
One of the, just even what Ms. Ford was talking about, we offer so much in Clear Creek ISD. How do you highlight a certain area with clarity and with the communication? So we have lots of clears, which we'll learn about, but what we landed on is rebranding all of our virtual learning opportunities under one umbrella called ClearLink. And so under that, you'll see flexible scheduling, hybrid, completely online course off hours that you can advance through credit. But this is going to be a new branding that we're going to launch in just a little bit. But
and so under ClearLink, you're going to see that we are going to kind of bring together flexible scheduling, which is one of our current offerings, at the high school level for first and seventh periods, where our students can use that period and take a virtual course. They have an opportunity to take up to take one of the 6 course offerings that we have right now. Currently, the most popular are government, economics, and English 4. So our students can take that for first period and seventh period. We are looking to see if we can expand or kind of adjust and shift it a little bit to where maybe it's not just first and seventh period, but maybe we can find a period in the middle of the day where we can support kids who may have another need, whether it is they have a desire to go to another campus for a course, but they don't have an open period to be able to travel. And so this may play into that and help them be able to take the courses that provide them continued flexibility. We also have Clear Access. Clear Access is a program that we offer, we offer 6 different courses, and they are taken outside of the school day. We are looking to expand that. We kind of equate this to a student who is looking to accelerate some of their schedule, where they may want to go ahead and take care of government, economics, English 4. We also offer psychology, world geography, and financial literacy and economics. And so students can take that outside of the school day. We're looking to expand that as well, so that students who may want to accelerate or open a period for their schedule during the school day will be able to do so. Then we offer Clear Stars. Clear Stars is our credit recovery program where students can recover credits, and they do that in a virtual space where they are at home and they can work on recovering credits. And then we have the dual credit virtual and hybrid options. And those options, and we also offer in person, as you just recently heard from Dr. Lopez and Ms. Ford. And those are dual credit opportunities where we partner with College of the Mainland in San Jacinto South, and our students are able to find the options that meet their needs. So between flexible scheduling, Clear Access, Clear Stars, dual credit, the virtual and hybrid options, our students are finding different pathways that can support them. And we're not done. We are going to continue to look, we are going to continue into the next phase of development for a virtual program that our students will have to be able to have more options for their schedules so that students can design the learning journey that makes sense for them. And that's our goal. And so while we offer a lot of great options, we know that they may not meet the needs of all students. So that's our goal, and we are now moving into the development phase.
Okay, and so, and just kind of to summarize too, we did talk about rebranding and making sure that we have probably enhanced offerings that we currently have, but then in the development stage, a virtual program. Not a virtual school, but a virtual program. And what that would allow students to actually go virtual, and we would partner with the provider. We've been in serious consultation with a thought partner for us, Dr. Robert Bayard, who happens to be at Texas Tech, K-12 virtual school. And so we're really getting, and they have already been looking at that, and now moving into that development with a serious opportunity to launch in the fall. So now that would take a little bit of work. We may need some support. I mean, that's a lot. You can see our team is doing a tremendous amount of work on every front. And so we don't want to distract from what we're currently doing, but definitely wanting to focus ahead and look at the possibilities of a virtual school. Not exactly sure program. School's different. You have to be very careful, but just offering our students the ability to go via Texas Tech all online, but be enrolled in Clear Creek ISD. So what would that grade levels be? What would we need to look at? We're really partnering closely with some experts and getting a lot of feedback from Dr. Bayard on that. So more to come within the next few months. That would be probably a launch, and I'm talking communications-wise, late spring. We're not looking at any students currently that are in our district. Right? We're talking about students that may not be coming to school right now to brick and mortar, but what could be some options that we could enroll them in Clear Creek ISD. And that concludes the second part of that strategy. Thank you.
That's a lot. All right. I'll open up. Go ahead. Let's check.
I just want to say all of this is great. You guys work so well together as a team, and I know there's a lot of people behind the scenes, so please tell them all thank you. I think we're truly offering a world-class education and these opportunities to all students. Two kind of comments or questions. Going back to the stream, so with bringing the 4 new intermediates online in the fall, if my math is right, that leaves 2 that don't have a specialty yet. Is that?
That is correct. We'll
And do we
have
have a
4
vision?
into the stream. Of course, we have the 2 science, the 2 waves, and that leaves 2 left.
Oh, 2, 4. Okay, so do we have a vision of what those 2 will come online to be a specialty?
Not as far as this focus area, no. We'll be working with those 2 campuses specifically, Bayside and Creekside, in the 26-27 school year to plan that out.
Okay, and then
Can I and follow up with that too? And Dr. McKay might answer, but she's got a very strong process that has been highly successful. Got it from Eastone, and really replicating what's worked well. And so she's done that process with these schools. So that same process will continue, and utilizing the campus staff and bringing them together. So it is in the works. It's just she will be leading that work. Thank you.
Yep. Well, I just want to make sure, all of our parents know, there is something coming for each campus, but it's some great opportunities are already in place, and they're looking forward to next fall. On the virtual learning, I absolutely love it. I know we have been discussing this for years, and I think with where the world is going to, I think there are so many kids that need those other options, and the opportunities. I think that's going to give them those opportunities to help with whatever their learning looks like. So I definitely look forward to that partnership that we're looking into, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity to bring in some of those students that we may have lost over the last few years, bring in some new students, and keep the ones that we have. So thank you for all of that and looking into that, what we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah, I have a question about P-TECH, and then I have a comment about Stream later. But let me start with P-TECH. There were some numbers thrown around with regard to applications and diversions to Clear Horizons and all that. One thing that I didn't follow in all that was, is P-TECH currently subscribed at its capacity, or would we have room for more?
No, there's definitely room for some expansion even within the health science area. Also looking at some other opportunities as well. But currently, we always start off slow with these programs to make sure that we understand what it all entails. And so, yes, there's some opportunities for expansion there. But in working with our consultant through this process, it was highly encouraged that we start off with a cohort of 25 to 30 for a couple of years till we get the process going.
So the roughly, and if my math is correct, the roughly 29 applicants who are not part of that, they just simply did not commit? Or I'm just not clear on how that all falls out. Because I have 102 minus 45 minus 28 leaves about 30 or so. And those students,
right? It's a lottery, just like the early college, and so those 45 of the initial ended up 45 of the 94 selected the early college side. So
right.
Then yes, that left a handful that did not get accepted, and so that's a lottery situation.
Oh, didn't you mean the one of that? Okay, that 102 that I have at the top of the page. That is all the applicants for both programs, or I'm just not following the math.
There were 102 that applied for the P-TECH program. Of that 102, 94 said they would go either way, early college or P-TECH.
Okay.
45 of that 102, that original 102, selected early college as their choice.
Okay.
So that left about 57, and then yes, 30 were accepted. Or 29, somewhere around in there. So that leaves 27 or 28 that weren't selected due to a lottery. So they were not accepted.
So you, okay, now maybe I wasn't clear, and I apologize for that. So we had a lottery for the P-TECH program?
Yes, anytime you have more people apply than we have spots, we end up doing a lottery.
That's ultimately where I was going with that question. I apologize if I wasn't clear in the way I asked that. Okay, and the other thing I wanted to mention, and I think I've mentioned this before. When we first started talking about Vision 2030 and the intermediates, and several trustees, myself included, had misgivings about that. And misgivings were that there just wasn't a lot of development on the intermediate side. And I think the last time we got an update on that, I was very positive about that. I really feel like this is starting to flesh out, and it's what I was hoping for. And I just wanted to say that what I've seen today makes me feel even better about this. I really do appreciate all the work that is going into fleshing this out and making it a reality. And I think we're moving in a great direction there, and I just wanted the whole team to know that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And I will go next. I wanted to go back a couple slides to the P-TECH presentation. And I just wanted to highlight the young lady right there. You see her in the classroom. You see her kind of administering to the dummy. The young lady with glasses. Dr. Engel and I had a chance to chat with her during right after our Education Foundation meeting. And freshman, I believe she's from Clearbrook, if I'm not mistaken. That would have been her school, but just ecstatic with the P-TECH program. The hands-on, getting a chance to interact, in the hospital, that is her jam. And so to see her so enthusiastic about that, it made me enthusiastic just listening to her talk about and rant and rave about the program. So I just wanted to highlight her while I saw her. And then also, Ms. Ford, I want you to get a hold of COM and look at their dentistry program. They have one of the best dentistry labs that I have seen outside of the med center. If you haven't seen it, it's a gem. I want to say they have about 25 chairs, if I'm not mistaken, takes up a significant portion of their first floor of their technology building, but it is top notch. That's another program that I'd like to hopefully see added on. And then just to echo what Trustee Cheka said, that virtual, I think that's another piece in how we keep students, from going elsewhere. It's another way to address enrollment. I think we've been lacking that. One of the things coming out of COVID, I said, flexible start times, flexible schedule, that's one of the kind of positive things, not for everybody, because it's not for everybody, but there is a significant portion of students that that program fits. So I like to see that exploration.
Thank you, Trustee Cunningham. Go ahead.
A couple of questions for you all. The dual credit offerings, definitely lots of offerings that are listed, which is exciting to see, and I think our students will appreciate that. Two things related to that. I wonder what that looks like in addition to just from a scheduling standpoint. I know how challenging that is, at least through the eyes of my own kiddos, but then also hearing stories and also from the team that's doing that at the campuses. I mean, I think it's not an easy feat. And so I just trust you all are coming up with the special solution that's going to make that happen.
Yes, sir. We're partnering.
I will say, as a parent of a dual credit student, though, that I love, it pays off tremendously.
Yeah. No, I agree. I love that, but okay.
We met with COM and Sanjak today to talk about that exact piece. And all along the way, as we were meeting with Sanjak and COM, in order to expand these opportunities, we have to make sure that the community colleges have openings in those programs as well, and that they're willing to give us seats. So that's part of the conversation as well. And then so working with their dual credit directors, they understand the times our students can go. So it is a new process, but we're making sure to work alongside them hand in hand, and then bring campus perspective as well while we're meeting with them to make sure we've seen everything. So yes, I appreciate you acknowledging it is a task, but we're working very closely together.
Yeah, and as you think about the recruitment, as I was listening to Dr. McKay, I wonder if some of the information that we share with students at the intermediate level through Stream of Innovation help to give students just a flavor of what these opportunities really look like once they get into high school, and making that come alive for them. Because I think as they have to navigate what it looks like to identify things that they may not have family members that have ever done, they may not have neighbors or friends that have done, there's a lot of really informing and giving them that insight. And so thinking about that as a pathway or options of pathways, but then also thinking about, I think Mr. Moses talked about somebody mentioned, how do we make sure that we've got enough time set aside? Maybe Dr. Lopez mentioned that. How do we have the time set aside?
And Christina and I talked about the career clusters that are taught in launch, and also with 8th grade college and career, that really making sure that our launch teachers are aware of this component as well, and that our college and career 8th grade teachers are aware as well, so that we can work this into the teachings of our intermediate students too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very exciting. For Ms. Lane, I did have a question. I know there are instances where we have course offerings at some of our high school campuses that are not necessarily offered at all, sometimes around a certain language, if it's German or French, and we have found that sometimes it's hard to recruit or to make an entire class at a specific campus. Is that part of what we think could be an option for students who would like to do that but don't have the ability at their campus?
That's a great point. Absolutely. That would be an opportunity that we could even do with our partnership with going forward, because we can select specific courses that are set up to have someone who can instruct them in a different language. Sometimes it's very difficult to create a virtual course that will meet the needs where they can speak, read, interact with another language. And so courses that are specifically offered and set up that way will definitely be an option. So it will actually open up some of our course offerings, because not only can a partnership be used to support a program, it may also be used to support courses as needed.
Okay. And for the courses at San Jack and at COM, definitely they're not in a position to have us fill all of these courses, nor would we have 100% interest. Do we have a sense, I mean, in the discussions, do we have a sense of how many students we may be able to give this opportunity, or it's still too early? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
still a little too early.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Trustee Sanchez. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. A lot of work went into this, but I don't think people realize, and the theme throughout this session has been partnerships. When I go to my BAHEP education workforce meetings and I see leadership there making those connections, things like this do not happen by accident, especially when neither of these two entities are within our boundaries and taxing jurisdiction. So that is just to say you've done a great job building those relationships and partnerships throughout all of the programs that we talked about today. So thank you for doing that, and it's a commitment that obviously you've made to be a part of the community, and so it pays dividends, and we can see that pretty much in all the things we just talked about. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? So I don't know. I leaned over to Dr. Engel and I said, there's a lot, right? There's a lot. Everything from this is what we do to ignite passions. You know, I mean, we've put it out there. The DiNardo position, you know, it was great from minute one. I was really excited because I knew him from Clear Springs, and then I knew he had a science background. And so I know that everything just came together for him to lead Space Center into the future. It's very exciting to, as Trustee McKay was mentioning, these outside partners. You know, it doesn't happen by chance. You know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of conversations. And with the 3 new intermediate schools for arts, aviation, and medical, you know, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to make more connections. I love that we're doing that. 8 out of 10 intermediate schools, and we having these conversations as Trustee Larson was mentioning, you know, years ago, and you know, it's all coming to fruition. It's part of the process, and we're definitely getting there. With regards to the virtual learning, I'm very excited, as other trustees are, to see that we're moving that direction. And you know, part of the why was our conversation, and I haven't checked numbers since a year ago, but it was the Texas Virtual Academy at Hallsville, I believe, had over 16,000 students enrolled throughout the entire state of Texas in their virtual academy, and a handful of them from CCISD, and they're in Lewisville, Texas. And it was doing that research that, you know, we realized that we were losing 500, 600, 700 students to virtual academies, virtual programs, you know, around the state of Texas. And, you know, that made us scratch our head and said, how is a kid who lives in League City going to school in Lewisville, Texas? And so that we put it out there and said, this is, part of us figuring out how we want to move into the future. We realize there's a competition for students. And so everything that I just heard in this portion is everything that we're doing both in the district to elevate education, to provide opportunities to the students that are here, and then also looking towards the future and saying, what can we do to stay competitive? Because with, legislation and so many things that, have changed this year, we're looking to the future. So providing a world-class education for everybody who's here, and y'all are doing a phenomenal job, and I appreciate, and I think the other trustees do as well, everything that y'all have been doing to create all the opportunities here in the district, but also the opportunities for the future. Because as we move forward, we have to be competitive. We have to be mindful of we're losing hundreds of students a year across the state, and we should be bringing in the students from Louisville, not the other way around. So we appreciate that very much. So thank y'all very much for all that. With that, goal 3.
Yes, goal 3. And this is to cultivate innovation through strategic collaboration and responsive organizational stewardship. And you'll see these bullets under this strategy. And really talking about develop the Beyond Boundaries plan for student enrollment growth, facilities optimization, and financial stability. And that there's been a lot of work done on that. Probably won't take quite as long to go through this, but we're very excited to share some things with you, starting with the timeline to optimize campus utilization and instructional programs. And that's a piece, and I do want to intro that just a bit because, and I know Dr. Henley is not here. Okay, well, I'm going to give her credit. If y'all recall, back a year ago, we worked on, she worked on BQ2, basically program review. And so that program review is really the basis for the work that we've done in this Beyond Boundaries work, because you'll note it says we're looking at instructional programs to optimize campus utilization and instructional programs. We use that process, the program review process, to look at different programs, and I'll turn that over to Ms. Polson to kind of talk through just a bit about what we've done, and then we have an example of one of the program reviews that we're going to share with you tonight.
Certainly, campus utilization cannot really be measured until we start looking at the mobility that we create through our programs. And is that?
Dustin's yeah, track out where the feedback's coming from.
Okay. So we have put together small teams that have been meeting. They've met now 3 times in each of these programs. The time spent together is being facilitated by Stride Consult. What am I doing?
It's getting feedback from above.
Oh, above. Okay. Thank you. So their work, you're going to hear the results of one of them tonight, Science Magnet. And then the group will conclude their work technically on December 17th. Some of these programs, like special education and WAVE, those are big programs. So don't think that within 4 meetings those mobility pieces will be solved. So some of them may take a lot longer to come up with some ideas. But the idea of the groups have been really about reviewing how their programs are working, thinking big, dream big, without constraints. Like if you had the ability to change anything about your program, what would it be? And to really help build out those big ideas. And then at December 17th, the teams will share back out with each other some top recommendations. And then those will go to Dr. Engel, and she'll determine which ones are now ready to move into that development stage, that whole other piece. Like Science Magnet's ready for implementation, which is exciting. But then, that's just an update on where we are. And then once we kind of figure out that will help with the campus utilization. And then Mr. Miller will talk more about the facility index. Okay, so this one I'm really excited to share. We've talked about our Discover CCISD campaign. It's probably been one of the most rewarding projects that I've been involved in. It started at the end of October, where we did our webinars, and then we did our Discover CCISD days the first 2 weeks in November. and with advertising, social media, also on the lawn at Baybrook throughout November, getting prepared for December 1 open with School Mint. School Mint is our new platform that we're using for in-district transfers, out-of-district interest, program applications, and I I know Dustin's behind me, but his team has been amazing through this. And so actually that number needs to be updated to, we have had 1,082 applications since December 1st. Today is December 8th. And so this gives you just a bird's eye view of where those applications are coming from. And you can see some of them far, far away, certainly a concentration within our district. But I also just want to share that we have had 89 students who have put in an application. They've actually submitted it. And they do not live in our district. They're out of district, and they do not meet the previous criteria of an employee service member. So these are new applications from out of the district, 89. And then we have 228 students who are within our district who are not current students. And that's, if you remember me telling you, that was who was our target audience for this campaign. They were people who live within our district but have not made CCISD their home yet, and then those that live outside of our district that might be interested. So we are very encouraged by these numbers, and we're 1 week in. And then we've had a total of 924 students. So this also includes pre-K as well as employees who are renewing for next year. So we're really seeing good progress. Parents are not struggling with this application. We thought there would be some challenges, so we kind of staffed up, but it's been manageable so far. And I think that's what I have to share on that. We're excited about it. And now I'll hand it over to Paul.
Okay. Alex and his team have been working for the last 6 months, as you guys know, on really digging in and going out to every campus. We're coordinating and collaborating with their group of professionals, including engineers, collaborating with various departments in the district, including technology and maintenance and child nutrition, really digging into the infrastructure. So he's going to provide an update on that process. He's also going to provide an update on the long-range facilities planning, which involves a much broader list of items to review, including campus visits, campus meetings, all of those things. So I'll turn it over to Alex and let him go through both slides.
Good evening, everybody. Oh, there you go. Sorry. So I am very excited to give you just a little brief rundown of our timeline for the facilities infrastructure and long-range planning. Before I start, I just want to give a big thank you, shout out to the maintenance department, because this is a pretty big task that we're doing. We're walking every single campus, and we're looking at every single piece of equipment, above the ceiling, below the ceiling, outside, on the roof. And without maintenance being there to help the engineers get into the ceilings, because our maintenance department know where everything is located, right? So it makes it a lot easier for the engineers to be able to pop ceiling tile, go in, find the serial numbers, find the type of equipment, pop tile back down, and go on, because some of these schools have 400 or 500 units inside them. So we'll just start off with the facility infrastructure assessment timeline. So in July, August, we did our kickoff data gathering meeting with PBK architects and their engineers, and that was completed, and that was just basically kind of set the guidelines of what we're expecting from them to provide to us for the information that we needed to put into the new Brightly program software that we have purchased. August till December, that is where a lot of the work is taking place, and that is the PBK combined with our people's walks of all the campuses. PBK broke it out in all their different departments. So their athletics did the athletic side, and building envelope did roofs, and mechanical and electrical engineers did all of our critical infrastructure. Then in January, we are going to complete, just as kind of a test case. So we purchased the new software from Brightly, which is Brightly Asset Essentials, which is going to be the new school dude that maintenance is using. and then the Origins, which is going to be the condition index planning, long-range planning program that Facilities is going to use. How it works is all this information is going to be inputted into Asset Essentials, and then from Asset Essentials, they're going to move it into Origin right away. So this assessment's also really helping the maintenance department's team prepare for their Asset Essentials, basically the new school due. So we're going to do one campus first by January, and then we're going to submit it to Brightly, and then they're going to run it through the program, and we're kind of going to assess how it's working, because Brightly requires that it be inputted in a certain way for the program to work. So certain labeling systems for all the different types of equipment for it to work. So we're going to try first one campus and then kind of weed out all the issues that we've had. And then we're going to set for February, we're going to set to do 10 more campuses, submitted to Brightly, February, March. And then April, May, we're going to complete the rest of the campuses. And then we're going to submit all that June, July to Brightly. And then we're going to get all the information back. And this is where I'm going to get this information. We're going to gather and work with the Origin to complete our condition index, which is one of the keys for our Brightly. And what that's going to do is it's going to be our matrix basically on our planning for the campuses. It's going to set the scores based on the longer range pricing for what needs to be updated in the schools. Brightly is we had our first meeting with them last week, kind of learning the program. It's an amazing program. It's going to be able to give us a year-by-year cost basis of how much every campus is going to cost us moving forward throughout the years. It's also going to allow, when maintenance department gets in there and replaces a piece of equipment, it's automatically going to be moved to Origin, and it's going to move my life cycle from maybe 3 years to 20 years, depending on what gets replaced. So the June and July is going to be the time where Mr. Miller and myself are going to really sit down and look at all the information. We're going to put together a pretty detailed condition index using different variables to put a score to each campus. At the same time all this is going on, we are also doing a long-range facility planning. So between November and March of 2026, I'm doing campus needs assessments. Basically, I'm meeting with the principals and with the directors, athletics, fine arts, etc., and getting from them the list of basically wants or needs for long-range planning. I've already started the process with the elementary schools, and I've kind of explained to the principals that this is kind of a different scenario this go around, because we're already doing a big chunk of their long-range planning through the Origin and through the assessments, because the assessments are handling the carpeting and the ceiling and the lights, all that kind of stuff. But I still want them to give me some input on some wants or needs that we may not have included in the overall assessment of the life cycle of the building. And then February to May, we're going to do the prioritize of their assessment lists. And then in June, I'm going to ask the architects to update the Bonds 2023 major projects that we estimated that were deferred. So basically, a Clear Creek Intermediate School, Clear Lake Intermediate School, Seabrook, Armand Bayou Green, and then the fine arts additions that we had originally planned during that process, just to get into the 2026 up through 2030 price range for all those programs. And then by July 26th to January 27th, I'm going to complete estimates for all of this information. So that's working hand in hand with the architects, and it's also going to be the opportunity for me to be able to bring in all the information from the Brightly program, because that's also going to include all the pricing. So when they're going to submit everything to Brightly, it's going to have pricing for everything. So it's going to be pretty easy for me to grab that information and put it into eventually a matrix for decision making. That's it.
Okay.
A lot of work.
A couple slides with a lot of work, yes, and you can see that. And then moving on, we just have a couple other things with HR, so I'll turn it over to Dr. Branch.
So this is probably the briefest slide we've had tonight, but The special education and TASB staffing study update. The special education TK staffing study has been completed and analyzed. We've received recommendations from the special education department as well as Dr. Silva on optimization opportunities. And so we'll have that plus additional updates for you in February by our target date, as we've just received the final report from the TASB staffing study. And so we'll be analyzing that and looking at recommendations, but certainly we'll be providing a more detailed update for you in February.
Okay, good evening. So to deliver a 26-27 balanced budget, we've been working on several things in advance of the budget process starting. As Dr. Branch mentioned, we are evaluating staffing reviews provided by TCASE and TASB. We're also evaluating opportunities that we can have to optimize or look at master scheduling efficiencies in our secondary campuses. And we also, in January, will start with a new demographer, a comprehensive demographic study that is going to be performed over the spring. It should be prepared, should be ready in May. So that will give us a good look at what our enrollment expectations are for the future years. We will be, coming up soon is we will be working on, well, we are working on our long-range budget forecast. So using assumptions that we have based on enrollment as it's come in this year, we are looking out right now over the next 3 years to see what that long-range budget forecast is going to be. And then we will be working with you all in near future meetings to look at what your budget priorities are for the 26-27 school year budget. And then looking at 26-27, we'll be implementing any revenue enhancement initiatives we have. Any staffing modifications will be implemented. Any budget or expenditure reductions that we have will be implemented, as well as continuing to evaluate those enrollment trends. 27-28 will be in a new biennium, of course, and we'll continue any budget modifications to align with those enrollment and legislative updates.
And our final bullet for this strategy is to advance the district's TIA opportunities by May of 2026. And I'm excited that Dr. Moses is here this evening to talk about the plans that she's developing along with an amazing team to provide financial incentives for the most impactful and effective teachers. And she's here for that update.
Thank you. So we know that the teacher incentive allotment program is built to provide highly effective teachers an accessible pathway to increase their compensation without having to move out of the classroom. We want to keep our very best teachers in the classroom. And so a local designation system is required to help us identify those highly effective teachers. Teachers in Texas can earn a designation through a district's local designation system, which we are applying and building now, or through the National Board certification. So we're happy to be continuing our work with National Board, and now we'll be looking at our local designation system that we will be applying for in April. So the local designation system allows us to identify those highly effective teachers, and we look at two things: student growth and their classroom observation components. The state right now has 3 designation areas. In 26 and 27, there will be a 4th designation called Acknowledge. There's no money amounts tied to those yet, so I'll just provide you with the 3 that currently have. So we have the area of Recognized, Exemplary, and Master level designations for teachers. Greater funding goes to higher need campuses or rural campuses. We don't have any campuses that fall in that category. And so 90% of the funds go to teacher compensation as a part of this plan. The numbers that you see there are just our CCISD averages. So when you take all of our campuses, some will be higher than what you see, some will be lower. Our highest campus for a master level designation as of this year, that teacher would receive $23,687. So sometimes you might see a higher amount, but remember that's for higher eco or if they're in a rural community. So in CCISD, that would be $23,687. We are excited to have a really great committee of people who are fully invested. That committee involves all 10 of our intermediate school principals, and they hand-selected 2 teachers from each of their campuses. We wanted someone that would be a positive voice for this work and to be able to really think outside of the box to help us create the application that we'll be submitting in April. In addition to those 20 teachers, we also have 9 district administrators who are bringing a wide variety of expertise for our committee. Our committee has been meeting in the fall and will continue in the spring. We really have 3 big goals that we have to decide. And so we had to first decide what are those eligible teaching assignments and what student growth measures are we going to use. In addition, we have to look at the teacher performance, because remember there's 2 components, student growth and then that teacher performance. And then ultimately, after we decide all of those, we have to determine what our local spending plan will be. We know that 90% goes to the campus that the teacher's employed, but we have some decisions that we can make about that. So that's the committee's 3 big goals. These decisions are really big, and a lot of people come with perceptions of what they've heard in other districts, or maybe they've been a part of other districts that have knowledge and experience. And so it's just really important. It requires a lot of time and investment. Of course, they come here, they spend late evenings for those committee meetings. They're looking at things in between time, they're investigating and researching. And so we really have to be very thoughtful in our consideration of our current system. And every time we go back to what is the goal of CCISD, what is our mission, what is our vision and purpose, because we want to create a system that is for CCISD, built by CCISD teachers. And so we're really proud of the work that they are doing. When we think about the validity and reliability of those measures, that's really key. So we can't just say we love our local benchmarks and we want to use those. We have to use something that Texas Tech is going to say, yes, it's reliable, and yes, it's a valid measure. So when we talk about teacher observation components, we will be utilizing our T-test observation. When we talk about student growth component, we are starting with the STAR. And so those are the 2 areas in which we're looking at initially to start the application process. And of course, we'll be continuing to expand those as we go each year. Okay, so for a timeline, this is a 3-year process. We are in year 1, so that's 25-26. It's the pre-application and system application. The application is due on April 15th. Our goal is to have it prepared well before then, and of course, we will need your input on that final spending plan. Currently, with our National Board Certified teachers, we utilize a 90-10 model, so 90% goes directly to the teacher, and then 90% stays with the district. And so that is what we're currently doing for our National Board Certified teachers. We go into year 2, which is a data capture year. That means that we are implementing their system, we're kind of trying it out, we're tracking data, we're looking at the T-test results from teachers. Are we seeing growth for all of our students? And then ultimately in year 3 is when that data is submitted to, it says TTU, that's Texas Tech University, for data validation. And then ultimately in 28 is when we would receive our first payouts for teachers. So when we think about what's next, we of course are going to be looking at considerations for expansion of the application, and that can be done on an annual basis. We're very proud to be working with our region partners, Region 4. They have been instrumental in really helping us think through this process. They also have access to what other districts are doing and resources. And so we're excited to be thinking forward. Of course, our goal is to make sure we have a really sound application to submit prior to April 15th, and then ultimately expanding that each year as we can. Thank you.
That is goal 3. So I know there's a lot of information there, so we'll turn that over.
All right, thank you very much. I'll open it up. If anybody has any questions or comments?
Oh,
go ahead.
Real quick, going back to Ms. Paulson's presentation, wow on those numbers. I think when we first started talking about the limited open enrollment, like in looking at like where are we losing kids at, I think that 228, is that what it was? That number I think really speaks volume to say those are kids that we could have here, and by doing this we are bringing them back. So I can't say thank you enough for your team of looking into that and making that happen and pulling back those kids. And then those kids are going to be in all these programs that we've been talking about with these opportunities. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. And then the teacher allotment, I think is great. I'm glad we're looking at this option there. I still go back to that day we were at Falls and walked in the classroom, and there is our teacher of the year that came back. And I just got chills. I mean, we really want to keep those teachers in the classroom. And I think a program like this is going to do that for us. And we're going to keep our quality teachers in the classroom where they need to be. So I love it.
Okay, so I've got 3 things. First, I want to talk about the open enrollment, and again, I want to echo Trustee Cheka's comment. The numbers speak volumes about what this is doing for us. And when I look at that map and I see that we've gotten applications from Mount Bellevue, I think that speaks much to the quality of what we have to offer and the way it's received in the community. So I'm really impressed by that. With regards to the budget, I continue to have concerns there. And this is nothing that we haven't seen coming for years. We all know it's difficult. I know that everybody has been doing their part. I see a couple bullets for 26 and 27 there where we're, looking at more revenue and reducing expenditures. Well, I can't help but feel that if we could have done that this year, we would have, instead of dipping into our various accounts to make up our deficit. So about all I can say is certainly I would expect all of us on the board would probably be very keen on figuring out ways we could help in this regard. I would just simply ask everybody else in the room to keep this in your mind as you go through the year. I know this is difficult, but we've got to figure out a path through the woods one way or the other. And finally, with the teacher incentive allotment, I think that's also a wonderful opportunity that we have. It's a powerful tool to retain our very, very best, and I'm thrilled, and I can't wait to see this roll out and become a reality. I think this is a very positive step, and I would like to thank everyone who was part of that.
Thank you, Trustee Larson. Anyone else?
I will echo what Trustee Cheka and Trustee Larson said. Those 228 within and the 89 out of district in the out of 100 or 1,082 applicants. After we sift through, the applications, I'd be curious because, our presentation a couple months ago in terms of targeting Holly's pre-K kids, And we identified, you know, the amount of kids that were in a pre-K program, you know, at various daycares through our district. I'm curious, you know, out of that 228, how many of those, you know, applicants are, because I want to say off the top of my head, it was maybe 12,000, or maybe I'm speaking out of line. It was either, for some reason, 3,000 or 12,000 is like, either one of those numbers are kind of popping. Yeah, I don't want to throw it out.
Get that information for you. Yes, we will absolutely get the numbers for you.
I think so. Yeah.
I think he's referring to the in the finance committee meeting we talked about the vendor that had the data on how many kids.
Yeah, that had the kids, right? So
yes.
Kind of mind's racing, but you know, I'd be curious, like out of that number, you know, where we land and how we, you know, how we're reaching them, because that's very exciting. It's just very exciting to hear, you know, time and effort that communications has put into it, the software that, you know, we're investing in it, you know, things of that nature, which leads me to facilities as well. Paul, under Paul McClarty, you know, now you, and then Alex coming up, we've always had a facilities plan, but to actually have it data, you know, data driven, I think is fantastic. You know, as we go through facilities and everything, we see the board, we see that, but just to have it, you know, concrete, and just the fidelity that you guys are putting into it in terms of putting your eyes on each piece of equipment so we know what we have, what shape it's in, and then, you know, being able to plug in, because I think of the chillers that we've just replaced within the past couple of years and things of that nature, you know, just to capture that information and just to put it down and have it stored somewhere, I think is invaluable. So you're starting to see some of the investment that we put into, you know, programs, data capture, people, etc. It's starting to pay off, and you're starting to see that. So it's very exciting time in the district. So thank you for the work that's going into all of this. I know, you know, we'll think about something in a committee meeting or think about something, and, you know, we'll rattle off something, and sometime we need to step back and remember that adds to your workload, but it's greatly appreciated, especially having an information session like we are today, to see all these things kind of coming together. So thank you. Thank you to everyone that has presented. It's been fantastic.
All right, go ahead.
And given what Trustee Cunningham said, we don't want to pile more work on you, but it would be really, I think, helpful for us to get updates, and then maybe even dive into the data a little deeper, like where are they coming from? You know, where are they currently? That type of thing.
Absolutely. We can provide that update. We've been eagerly monitoring that dashboard like in real time.
With results like this, I'm sure you have been, yeah.
Mr. Aragon, thank you for sharing the information about kind of progress on the infrastructure assessment. I can't help but think about what this looks like for you all and for your team in advance of forming a facility advisory committee and the information. And so transforming from an Excel spreadsheet with 1,000+ lines to something that truly has some timestamps to equipment, age, and functionality, potentially costs for replacement or repair, level of obsolescence when something has outlived its life cycle. I just think this brings a different level of fidelity to how we operate. I think it fits with really the practice and the discipline that you all have really across all of cabinet. But thank you and the team for spending the time to do this. I think it will remove some of the flexibility we've exercised to kick the can down the road when there are things that need to be done. So I would just share with my fellow trustees that when you're operating off of this level of data and information that's going to be provided, I think it changes the narrative from what do we think we should do or we could do, but this is really a level of clarity of what must be done. And so I would want the community to be aware. I would want our campus administrators and staff to know that we're not just doing it because we feel like it, but because this is what this is telling us. And I think ultimately our ability to move more quickly towards a decision is something that's going to be incumbent on us. I think we're seeing the effects of obsolescence at campuses where it disrupts our ability to have programs and activities because they can't get through a rehearsal without equipment failing. And when we have family members and community members who are part of PTAs and booster clubs who invest a significant amount of time as valuable partners to our programs and their children's education, I think we owe it to them to then make decisions that are important, despite what the climate might be. And so I wanted to say thank you for that. I think we've talked a lot about data-driven decisions, and I think this is an amazing example for us to be able to do that. I appreciate Mr. Larson's comment about concerns about budget and savings that we might have already made, and I would maybe share a slightly different perspective that says the urgency and concern that we should all have as trustees is being concerned enough to speak about it and to talk about why this is important, and it's out of our hands to solve a budget challenge that's been handed to us. I think our cabinet and our district is doing all that we can with the limited resources that we have, but it is shameful to have a gap. The number of years that we've had from a legislature that's not funded public education. That should be concerning, and that should be something that we are comfortable talking about regardless of who we're in front of, because they represent the same constituents whose children we are trying to serve. And without that sense of urgency, I think it is doing our district a disservice. So to have the concern about how we're going to continue to find savings, I agree with. To have an equal concern for finding ways to talk about this and be more vocal about it is equally important. And I'm not sure that we've all shared that comfort level, because it is a difficult thing to talk about when there are larger priorities that the state is looking to advance. And so I would just share that I think being more comfortable talking about that is going to be something that we are going to have to do. And that starts today. It starts every day. And I think finding ways to highlight that with key stakeholders who are investing in our dual credit programs, who are investing in our programs, who are making sure that we have all these offerings, I think that's going to be really critical. So thank you, Ms. Benzai, always for the work that your team does. I know every member of cabinet is invested in trying to find solutions, and we get to lower budget numbers by attrition through asking people to do more. I mean, let's be honest, we're asking everybody to do more than they've ever done, and we leverage technology to help us get to that place, but that doesn't substitute the power of an individual and a person. And I think we have to not lose sight of the fact that that's ultimately what helps make the incredible programs and district that we are. So I hope people are thinking about that and getting comfortable with talking about that more, because the state's not going to bring us a solution. They've proven that they are not going to do that. So just wanted to make sure that we didn't lose sight of that after all of the great things that have been discussed about today. to find elected officials at the state level that are willing to join us in that journey and be true partners, I think is really key. And I did want to just touch on the special education study. I believe this is something that we started looking at. It's from years ago, and we were just wanting to make sure that we have current data and information based on drastic increases in students who have been identified as, okay.
Yes, and the numbers, and thank you for, tapping into that. The special education numbers have increased, even though our enrollment has decreased, that changes there. But now that we did do that study in the spring, and then that information was shared with TASB, and so kind of putting all of that information together. And Dr. Silva has really worked hard with Dr. Staley, and we will have a staffing recommendation for some reductions, obviously, and really what we're looking at, though, is streamlining and being more efficient. I mean, it's really not about reduction for the sake of that. It's about how can we be more efficient with what we have? How can we look at, just like you said, we're doing more with less, but what can we do without sacrificing quality of program? And if there's, there may not be any efficiency there, but the study has shared some. And they've worked very hard. And so we're excited. We'll be sharing that with you in January to February. That beginning of February, we'll be sharing that information with you. So, and we're doing that across the board. What does the study say, and then how can we be more efficient with what we have, resources?
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Engel. And one last thing, Dr. Moses, thank you for the information on TIA. Will you remind me, is it once a teacher has reached a designation, is that a 5-year designation?
Yes, sir. There's a 5-year designation, and within our plan, there are some specific things that we can do. So if they leave the district, that designation would follow them, but there are just some very specific things that we'll get into with the committee to kind of determine what that looks like. The money comes to the district, and it goes to the campus in which the teacher is designated, and that's where that local spending plan then determines then where does that money go. So currently our plan is 90% goes directly to the teacher.
To the campus. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what was the new designation that you said we haven't gotten information about
It's
yet?
called acknowledged, and it will be it'll be acknowledged, recognized, exemplary, and then master level.
I see. And there's not a time frame that any one teacher would remain at a designation. They could. You can move up, but
Absolutely.
The intent is that you don't move down.
You can move up within those 5 years of your designation.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's the goal. If you start at recognized, ultimately your goal is to be a master designated teacher.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Trustee Sanchez. Anybody else? No. Go ahead.
Just a quick follow-up. I would really like to make it clear that I agree with Trustee Sanchez. Our budget, and I don't think I'm telling anybody in this room anything you don't already know. This isn't an internal problem. This isn't something where we mismanage things or it's spent wildly or irrationally in any way. This is an external problem that was imposed on us, and sadly, it is our challenge to figure out a way to meet this. And I do appreciate all the efforts that have gone into getting us where we're at today.
Can I follow? Just real quickly and following up, and everything that we're doing, it's that the priority number 1, world-class education, priority number 2, efficiencies and effectiveness, and priority number 3, financial, savings if we can find that. So we've got to keep the main thing, but looking at what we can do. So the team is really working hard on that, and I know Alice is supporting us in that effort.
And so kind of saddlebacking on the Trustee Sanchez comments to Ms. Benzai, one of the bullets said master scheduling efficiencies. And so I made that note because I was trying to figure out, what is that metric? How do you know when you've mastered scheduling of efficiencies? What? Where did that come from?
Yeah, and Mr. Moses is going to share a little.
Yeah, we're going to continue to look at ways in which to make sure that our schedules are built in a way that optimizes all of our staffing, from course requests to teacher certifications to all the things. So we're looking at different ways, different programs and software and different avenues that we can utilize in order to make sure that, especially at the secondary level, those high schools and middle school master schedules are truly optimizing all of our teaching units moving forward.
Okay, yeah. It's such a big bar to master something, right? And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, I'm curious where that bar was. And obviously, it's great to have that goal to master. You know, all of the conversation from the end of goal 2 to goal 3, you know, it's important because as we consider things about virtual learning, and something Trustee Sanchez said that made me make a note, my daughter was taking ASL, and there was a challenge of having a teacher that was properly qualified and trained and committed to teaching that course. And when we consider virtual learning or some of the facilities usage, I remember sitting at TASB about 3 years ago, and I think it was PBK and Humboldt ISD that had classrooms that they had recently built with green screens. And so, you know, hearing that conversation a little bit ago made me think about that because, you know, hypothetically, you know, we had the ability to have a teacher that could teach virtually in a situation like that. If you had a student in a classroom in a high school that you had a challenge with the staffing, but, you know, there was somebody qualified to go and teach it virtually to the other students around the district so that they were properly getting trained. Because then she was a little behind when she went to the second year of ASL in 10th grade. So, you know, I think these conversations, you know, about facilities and everything, and then, of course, what the future looks like, you know, it's all very important. Last Wednesday morning, there was an Inside CCISD presentation and tour, and one of the ladies who had the microphone got up there and said, "We identify barriers and build bridges." And that resonated with me that, you know, I made a note in my phone about it. And as I'm listening to all this, whether it is the finances, the facilities, the, you know, programs that we offer, you know, I think that's something that this district continues to be mindful about. You know, we identify these barriers and we build bridges, and every one of those bridges is an opportunity. And so the team comes together to you know, cross that bridge, to build the bridge, and you know, make it across together. So, I guess I was going to ask you about TIA. That was my last thing. Was that part of the 2019 SB3? And I think Ms. Moses. Yeah. Bring her back. No, I'm joking. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the budget challenges, and not much change with legislation around the district. And so leaving that money on the table is probably not the most reasonable thing. We have effective teachers who would indeed be able to accomplish the master level and be able to get $20,000.
Yeah.
So
retaining those teachers, certainly by having that incentive available to them.
And I think as everybody was kind of learning more about it, and I think Trustee Mackay went through, I think, a TASB class on it this past year, and came out of it going, wow, there's a lot of opportunities there, but it is a process. And as he was sharing some of the details, it's not easy. It's not easy for us. It's not easy for the teacher. And then once you have it, you have to work hard to maintain it. Because it doesn't just stay in place, you know, indefinitely. So, but it's good to hear that we're dipping our toe into it. We're, you know, getting all the information and starting the process, because it's about 3 years, I think, until the first ones could receive it. So, thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Keep building bridges. All right. So, ready for the next item, or are we good? Okay. So next item is a science magnet update.
Okay, and so we are going to transition, have a few people come up to the desk here. And just kind of as a background, as they're walking up and getting situated. So as we talked about the Beyond Boundaries, these are program reviews. One of the program reviews was this science magnet. And so having this team, and so the team, and I'm going to share this, our district coordinator, Andrea Fry, she is here, Seabrook Magnet Principal, Nicole Hicks, Brookside Magnet Principal, John Hobroch, Science Magnet Liaison. She is at Science Fair, okay. So Danielle Denny is at Science Fair, and then Clearbrook High School and CCISD Exemplary High School teacher Elena Garza to provide her expertise. So this was the small group that assembled for the program review of Science Magnet, and they're going to share some of their findings and recommendations for elevating the Science Magnet program.
Thank you, Dr. Engel. Appreciate the time this evening. Dr. Engel did introduce everyone on this committee, so I'll bypass that piece and jump right into the Clear Creek ISD Science Magnet Program is being re-envisioned to ensure it continues to deliver a world-class, inquiry-driven science education program aligned with the district's mission and vision. So tonight, I'll share some of the aspects of the challenges and barriers that this committee came up with as far as looking deeply into the Science Magnet Program as it currently exists. And then Andrea will share the revised plan that we're looking into that we feel like has a lot of potential. So with that, we'll jump right in. Our current Science Magnet Program, of course, as you guys know, is housed at Seabrook and Brookside Intermediate, and has for many years offered signature opportunities for our students. However, as we look into Vision 2030, elevating that intermediate experience across our district, as well as you heard this evening, advancing STREAM opportunities for the future. We have been able to organize and analyze some barriers or some limitations that we have noticed with our current program. Our students, naturally inquisitive of the program and are eager to explore science. However, there's some limitations that come with that. One of those is our single showcase for student learning. When you start talking about a science fair, it currently serves as that single showcase, and it certainly has value, but it doesn't always offer that range of authentic, varied opportunities for our students to show their learning. In addition, it forces every student to go through the same process and the same type of project, and so that lends to student fatigue, lack of engagement, and some missed opportunities and to possible deeper, authentic scientific discovery. Along with that is the flexibility. There's some lack of flexibility to support our diverse student interest. Course offerings remain limited during this time, and they prevent students from exploring those specialized areas of science that could spark a passion and even connect them to their future pathways, not just in high school, but post-secondary. That lack of flexibility also affords us operational challenges, such as master scheduling, such as staffing patterns, as well as scalability. So it continues to make it increasingly difficult to deliver a consistent, high-quality experience for our students, and even more difficult to expand or enhance that program. So finally, the last piece of this challenge that they came up with is we have some significant opportunity to fully leverage community partnerships. Industry, higher ed education institutions, as well as local STEM organizations can offer us some incredible real-world learning experiences, and current design doesn't allow us to integrate these opportunities as to the scale that we envision it being for the future. So as the committee looked at these limitations, it kind of served as a signal to us to reimagine what science program could be here in Clear Creek ISD. And so the next portion of the presentation will outline a new vision, one that expands opportunity, increases flexibility, strengthens partnerships, and then creates a more engaging, curiosity-driven science experience for our students here in Clear Creek ISD. So this time I will turn it over to Andrea.
All right, good evening. Thank you for having us, and I'm just gonna kind of go through a couple of things that we found really with the lens of Vision 2030. thinking innovation, student-centered, and just how can we re-envision this along with what we've heard from parents and students and teachers of the Science Magnet program. And so the very first thing, and this is exciting, that's okay, you can go.
You ready?
Mm-hmm. Okay. The very first thing that we looked at was expanding the Science Magnet electives. This is always a student's favorite part of Science Magnet, but in our current model, they only can leave Science Magnet with only being able to take 3 Science Magnet electives. In our re-envisioned model, we have designed a Science Magnet Quest course that actually allows them to take 9 Science Magnet electives before they leave intermediate school. And these electives will build on the foundation of our electives we already have. We have 8 amazing electives, but we will also, this course will allow us to really look at what students are interested in future, kind of thinking of future ready courses, and bring in more interest-based courses for students to take. So that's kind of the first thing, is opening up not only more opportunities, but more interest-based courses before they leave the intermediate school. So that's the first one. The second one is exciting as well. So our scientific research course is really the core of the Science Magnet program. This is where they learn the science and engineering practices, asking questions, analyzing data, collaboration, and that's not going anywhere. So that's a huge piece of who we are at Science Magnet, and really what allows students to move on to high school, remaining curious and being confident in their science learning. But in our current model, the showcase for scientific research is only one pathway. Now, I love that pathway, and it's amazing and it's impactful, and that's the Science and Engineering Fair. So that is still going to remain a pathway that students can take. But what we had re-envisioned was offering other pathways to showcase what they have designed in that scientific research course. So some examples, and not limited to, the Houston Rodeo has an agricultural science fair that students very easily could go and showcase their science project or their scientific research at that. Genes in Space is another challenge, a national challenge actually, to where their project that they create, they could go and really compete on a national basis with that interest, that certain interest. So I just put a couple up there. But that was the other pathway. So just to summarize, one, our elective courses, they are going to have more before they leave us, and then also aligned with their interests. And then the other pathway was keeping science fair as a piece, but adding additional pathways to showcase their work that they create in that scientific research course. So kind of.
So with this, I mean, this team is the brain trust of all this. They have thought this through. They're the experts in dealing with the Science Magnet program. We know how important it's been to this district, but this is an opportunity for us to re-envision, to truly elevate the intermediate experience for all of our students. That leads into Vision 2030. We've also had conversations about how this would lead to an implementation of STREAM at both of these campuses for the future, and how does that work, a stepping stone, if you will, toward that. So with this new model, of course, there is some structural changes that'll need to take place. One of those is moving from a current bell schedule to a unified bell schedule. And that's kind of the foundation for us in order to deliver this stronger, more accessible, more consistent, if you will, science experience. It creates conditions for greater access for our students. For elective courses, gives us more effective use of our instructional time, and it also creates a tighter, more sustainable master schedule, which we talked about just recently about how to be more efficient in that area. We recognize this will be an adjustment for all involved. However, we also know that maintaining that current split schedule significantly limits our ability to enhance this project. So that unified schedule is certainly necessary for us to elevate the intermediate experience moving forward and to make that model truly work for our students. So re-envisioning, it's going to open doors for us in that area. It's going to create a more coherent future-ready program, and it's going to expand pathways with deeper engagement for our students and create a learning experience that's truly aligned with Vision 2030, optimizing our resources at the same time. So thank you for your time, and we'll we'll be here available for any questions. The experts.
Thank y'all very much. All right, open it up.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of curious about how the electives are managed. The 3 electives that we have now, are those full year electives?
So we currently have 8 electives, and they're a semester elective that takes place in the spring course, or in the spring semester.
Okay. And we're dividing that up now into quarters and just basically what I'm struggling with here, struggling to understand is, if these are quarterly courses, they wouldn't go into the same depth as a semester level course. So is the intent here to add additional electives and additional pathway to get the quarterly courses on top of the semester electives that we now have?
So we actually would have 2 options that we talked about. So if they wanted to go in depth, so for example, we have a bodyworks class, which is basically like anatomy and physiology. And so for bodyworks, they could take a quarter, but if they wanted to keep going with it, they could take the next quarter. So they would get that in-depth piece, but in addition to that, we are able to add more elective courses based on student interest in science. So we've had interest in like a forensics course. So we could offer that as a quarterly course that it could grow into 2 quarters. So really just designing, it allows us for students to experience more of our electives that we have, but then also for us to design additional electives.
That answers the question beautifully. So and I'm impressed because that gives us, the rigor available of having a full semester course, but it also allows a kid who gets into something and realizes I want to look at another path too. It also gives that flexibility. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Trustee Larson. Open it up.
From Science Magnet parent, love it. I really like the way that WAVE is set up with the mini courses, and I love that we're bringing that to Science Magnet. Not super sad about missing science fair, not gonna lie. We've finally finished that, and my phone has been blowing up with parents who are so excited and so proud of their kids for the science fair that we had today. And so I think that's still a great option for the kids that want to do science fair. And maybe they don't do it their first year and they decide they do want to do it their 7th grade. So I like having that option, but I like having the option of the more mini courses to kind of expand, because I think in middle school they don't know what they like yet. Some kids get to college and still don't know what they like and what they want to study. So I think being able to offer those at the middle school level to start finding where their interests are, I think is a great option, and this is a great way to do it. So excited.
Go ahead.
Had a quick question about the re-envision model with the different options for students to enter projects or areas that they've been studying. The level of discussions that you all have had at this point, have you talked about how that gets managed from a district perspective, and thinking through how we help respond to questions that parents will have and students will have, interfacing and not bombarding now these new entities with calls and questions? I just wonder what that looks like.
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So that's where the Science Magnet Quest course comes in. So the thought is, like I said, that scientific research course is our foundation, and they would take that quarterly each year. But then it would allow students, if they went into a different challenge, they would have a teacher that would serve as their mentor for that specific challenge. And so they would have someone that is going to be kind of that liaison between this challenge, the rules, how we get students there, and that they would meet with every day. So I have actually kind of thought about this at a district level. It could grow. That's kind of how science fair is. Like, now we're able to have a district science fair, and we funnel all these district winners to Science and Engineering Fair of Houston. That could potentially be something that we're able to do for another challenge, just depending on student interest and how that grows. So that's kind of I love that you asked that question. It crossed my mind at a district level, how that would look, or has the potential to look.
So potentially at a campus, you would have 4 additional teachers that are taking on?
So there are same science magnet teachers, right? But they may have, so they all teach a research course. So their research course may specialize in this challenge. Right.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. It is exciting, and I do think our students would, even just through classes that I visited and teachers I've spoken with, I think they know who those students are that would love to enter something at the rodeo based on the work that they've been doing, and I think that ultimately strengthens, their interest when they're making college decisions and majors, and so that is exciting. So thank you all. Thank you for being part of this team. I know I got to see Miss Garza over at Clearbrook on Saturday at the band holiday market, where she was planting me with lots of things that now I'm going to be. Now, I said, so you're the person I have to come to now when I want more of this. And so, but we talked briefly about the work that the committee's done. And so thank you for bringing that forward, because these are things that you all see close up, that firsthand, enrich the experience for our students and really make our teachers even more proud of the work that they do, because it allows them to take that to the next level. So just looking at each of you sit in different parts of our community that really represent what is best about the science that goes on across CCISD. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Trustee Sanchez. Any other? No. My question is, so, and again, thank you all for being here and thank you for that presentation. I'm not a parent of a science magnet student or anything like that. Mine play sports, and well, not that theirs don't. But anyway, is there a timeline to kind of evaluate or reevaluate the new model? Like, is this something you say, hey, we're going to, give it a year, give it 2 years, give it 3 years, let's evaluate it, because there's a big difference between current and re-envision. So what is the anticipation kind of reevaluating and the fidelity and effectiveness and, how's it working?
So our current plan that we've talked about is kind of more of a slow roll into kind of adjusting to get there. Next year, starting with our scientific research course as a full semester. And so just really kind of, so keeping that intact, and then adding the science magnet quest course to the spring semester as 2 quarterly. So still keeping that with the science magnet research course as a full semester. Perhaps we've talked and not really kind of fleshed that out totally, but perhaps giving students a competitive versus a non-competitive pathway. So we talked about a couple of different, just kind of to slowly dip our toes in what are the other challenges? How does this look on the teacher end with managing that, and put some systems in place? That way we know the next year we're ready to, we know exactly how it's going to look as far as scheduling and how to move kids into those classes. Does that answer that?
And as with any program that we roll out or re-envision or change, we will constantly reflect upon it and make adjustments as we go each year.
And that's kind of what I was getting at was, just, anytime there's a big change like this, whether it's for the parents or the staff, evaluating it a year or 2 from now to see how effective it's been, how, what kind of tweaks there may need to be made and things like that. So if there was a plan in place for
something. And I think it lends itself, as I said earlier, into the work that we're doing with STREAM and how that will come into play in a couple of years. So that'll give us an opportunity to make an adjustment there as well.
And going back to that program review process, there is an evaluation, component of that a couple years down. So we will really follow that policy, that regulation that we're using for this anyway. So I do think that's something that we need to make sure that we, target that in and follow that process. And good points.
So that's the technical way of saying what I asked was a program review. Yeah.
I do have one more question. When you mentioned the kind of competitive versus non-competitive, do you know if any of the other ones that are listed on the model, the challenges, are any of those spring where a student could do one in, they could do science for in fall and then one of these other challenges in the spring?
Yes, exactly. So that's our thought is like the eco challenge through Space Center Houston, that's going to be in March. And so that would be, so they may take the foundation first 9 weeks and then come back for the third 9 weeks to really start developing that in order to compete at that eco challenge. Yes, good question.
Yes, go ahead.
I know Ms. Garza, Mr. Hobroch, and Ms. Hicks, since y'all are here, is there anything we didn't touch on or that wasn't included in the slides? So patient to be here for the entire workshop. I hate for you to leave thinking you didn't get to tell us something that you wanted to share. And if you do have something, just, yeah, because you live this, if you wouldn't mind just making sure you hit your microphone so everybody can hear.
I think from the teacher aspect, this is really going to help us be more passionate about the work that we do with the students that are interested in the science fair, and then the other challenges as well, because you're not sitting with 25 and 30 students all doing different projects, and half of them aren't really interested in what they're doing. Their mind is thinking about a different type of challenge that they were wanting to do but didn't get a chance to or didn't have the mentor for it. And so now reallocating that to teachers that do have a passion for different types of competitions, I think is going to make our work more valuable.
Yeah, you want to go? Sure. Oh, okay, you go.
I can always talk.
Yeah, you can. I'm going to go before him. I think that a lot of these ideas are things that teachers have asked for and have wanted to see happen. And so we're continuing to value the work that they do, and let them explore some passions that they haven't necessarily been able to do within the 8 electives that we have. So we have one that's super excited about doing forensics, and she can't wait to be able to try to integrate that in some capacity. So I think there's going to be a lot of excitement.
From my standpoint, I am a little bit newer into the science magnet world, being in the role for 1.5 years now, but just I agree with some of those great things when you really get to step into the classroom and the kids are experiencing those areas of interest. And some of it is really science fair, and they love what they're doing with science fair, and you get to hear that talk. But some of it really does come in some of those other areas. And I think finding these opportunities to leverage that and find more ways to have them go down further paths or other paths and really explore their knowledge, I think it builds great bridges to some of the things we've been talking about throughout this meeting. And what are those world-class opportunities they have when they get to the high school, but having opportunities to maybe explore some of that prior to them getting there. And really, I think too, it unlocks a teacher passion when they get to maybe explore other topics than what we've had, or get a group of students. I mean, that's in the electives, when students have chosen that topic and the whole group chose to do it, it's very exciting to see in our spring. We keep doing Inside CCISD in the fall, and I try to recreate it, but it's not the same as when you get in that classroom and they're doing it. So it's just a very exciting opportunity, I think.
Yeah, thank you all. I think we've seen over the years, these organizations, not only are they focused on inspiring, exciting our students, but they also look to recognize excellent teachers and instruction, and they can become long-term partners in ways that are not necessarily our intent at the beginning, but they really validate the work that's happening in the classroom through instruction and through engaging with students. And then I think ultimately down the road, as these students are building out their resumes and Naviance and what they look like in high school and in college applications, I think these are all foundational things that really help to set them apart. So thank you all for thinking about this differently and for helping us take, some new things into consideration. So thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for embracing change, challenging the status quo, and reimagining what these schools can do. And I think I've seen it across every presentation we've had, and using Vision 2030 as a living document and that guiding light. I see it in all of these programs that we're doing. So thank you for that. It does not go unnoticed.
Well, that's a great way to wrap it up. Nothing else to be said. So, all right, we good on that? Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. All right, so our next item is a closed session. It is 7:27. The board will now move to a closed session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act concerning purposes permitted by the specific Texas Government Code sections listed on the agenda. right, call this meeting back in order at 7:44. And do I have a motion on closed session items?
Mr. President, in accordance with Board Policy DGBA Local, I move that the Board of Trustees deny the relief requested by the employee.
Thanks, Trustee Larson. All right, motion on the floor. Any other discussion?
I just have one statement to make, and that is because ordinarily I would have a lot to say on this, but as this matter is in litigation, I will withhold further comment.
All right, thank you, Trustee Larson. Any other discussion? None? All right, all in favor, please raise your right hand. And no opposed. Thank you very much. And this meeting is adjourned at 7:45.